At the edge of this valley lies a dry river known as a wadi, where scattered rocks reveal something remarkable, a carefully cleared path. Recent research here is sparking fresh conversations in both science and faith. For centuries, many have searched for evidence of the Red Sea crossing, and now new technology and underwater studies are offering insights unlike anything seen before. Could these discoveries align with one of history's most celebrated accounts and transform how we view this extraordinary event? Stay tuned as we explore this fascinating breakthrough. In the book of Exodus, the nation of Israel stands at the center of the narrative. The stories recorded there describe extraordinary events that, by today's standards, seem to defy the laws of nature. Among them, one account has captivated believers, historians, and skeptics for centuries: the dramatic crossing of the Red Sea. Exodus recounts the Israelites' escape from Egypt, where they endured harsh slavery, to Canaan. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. Their journey was marked by astonishing events, but none more iconic than the moment they found themselves trapped between Pharaoh's advancing army and the vast waters of the Red Sea. 2 million people, including families and the elderly, stood at the shoreline with no path forward and no way back. According to the biblical text, the sea miraculously parted, forming walls of water on either side and creating a dry pathway through the depths. The Israelites crossed to safety, but Pharaoh's army, pursuing close behind, was not as fortunate. As soon as the last Israelite stepped onto solid ground, the waters returned, overwhelming the Egyptian forces. For those who experienced it, the event must have felt impossible to describe, an ocean splitting in perfect timing, seemingly acting on behalf of one nation against another. This story has endured for thousands of years and remains foundational to the faith of billions around the globe. The biblical explanation credits this event to the direct intervention of God, demonstrating divine power to the surrounding nations. For many, this is reason enough to believe. Yet the story also invites scrutiny. How could such an event occur? Could natural phenomena explain it, or does it stand as a purely miraculous moment in human history? These questions lie at the heart of modern investigations into the Red Sea crossing. As science advances and discoveries emerge, researchers continue to examine whether physical evidence can shed light on one of the most extraordinary accounts ever recorded. What they've uncovered may challenge long-held assumptions and bridge the worlds of faith and archaeology in ways no one expected. Scientists rely on evidence and logical explanations to confirm historical events. For any claim to be accepted as fact, it must withstand rigorous testing and be supported by observable data. When an account appears to involve divine intervention rather than dismissing it outright, researchers often investigate further, seeking natural processes or physical mechanisms that could explain what happened. This is where the story of the Red Sea crossing presents major challenges. The biblical account describes waters parting to create towering walls on either side, allowing millions of Israelites to pass through on dry ground. From a scientific standpoint, this scenario clashes with fundamental laws of physics, including gravity and fluid dynamics. Gravity is constant. It cannot selectively weaken to hold water upright for hours. Calculations based on the description suggest walls exceeding 100 feet, requiring an unimaginable force to maintain. The account also specifies that the seabed was completely dry, adding another layer of complexity. Not only would the water have needed to part, but the saturated ground beneath would have had to drain instantly, something no known geological or hydrological process can replicate. Modern science has studied events like tsunamis, tidal surges, and seismic activity, which can cause dramatic water displacement. However, these phenomena are chaotic and destructive, not orderly pathways for safe passage. Some have suggested strong winds might lower shallow waters temporarily, but the areas linked to the Red Sea crossing, such as the Gulf of Aqaba, plunge to thousands of feet in depth. No natural wind event could produce such conditions. For decades, these scientific obstacles kept the Red Sea crossing classified as myth rather than history. But advances in technology and deep-sea exploration are beginning to challenge that perception. New underwater surveys have revealed artifacts and geological features that align closely with the ancient account, findings that may shift how both science and history approach this legendary event. For decades, archaeologists and biblical scholars have agreed on one key point. If the Red Sea crossing truly happened, physical evidence must exist somewhere. The challenge has always been locating it. This event, if historical, would have occurred more than 4,000 years ago in a region whose geography has shifted dramatically over the millennia. One of the most debated questions concerns the Pharaoh of the Exodus. The biblical account describes Pharaoh and his army perishing in the waters, yet Egyptian records suggest certain rulers continued to reign years beyond the proposed time frame. This discrepancy has fueled competing theories. Perhaps Pharaoh's body was retrieved, perhaps he did not personally lead his army, or perhaps historians have misaligned the timing altogether. To address these questions, researchers turned their focus to finding tangible evidence of the crossing itself. The search was daunting. Sea levels have changed, coastlines have shifted, and any surface evidence from that era would have long since vanished. However, ancient biblical texts provide strikingly specific geographical markers that narrowed the possibilities. These accounts describe a crossing of a vast, deep body of water far greater than lakes, rivers, or shallow coastal regions could provide. The site needed to be wide enough for an estimated 2 million people and their livestock to pass and deep enough to match the dramatic narrative described in Exodus. After extensive analysis, one location emerged that met every criterion: the Gulf of Aqaba. This body of water, lying between the Sinai Peninsula and present-day Saudi Arabia, plunges to depths exceeding 5,000 feet. To grasp its scale, that is deeper than the height of the Empire State Building, meaning even the tallest skyscrapers would vanish entirely beneath its surface. Equally compelling are the surrounding geographical features. The Gulf's location aligns with the route traditionally associated with the Israelites' journey through the wilderness. Mountainous terrain nearby corresponds closely to biblical descriptions, including sites believed to be connected to Mount Sinai and other landmarks mentioned in Exodus. What researchers discovered at this location would ignite discussions in both scientific and religious circles. The evidence they uncovered was not scattered along the shore but buried deep beneath the waves, preserved for thousands of years on the ocean floor. And when these findings were finally brought to light, they raised profound questions about one of the most famous stories ever told. Questions that continue to reshape how history and faith intersect. Enjoyed the video? Before we continue, don't forget to ring the bell, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. It truly helps me out, and I promise to bring you even more awesome content. After years of searching, researchers identified a location that aligns with every major biblical description of the Red Sea crossing, the Gulf of Aqaba. This discovery challenged long-standing assumptions in both archaeology and biblical scholarship. The Gulf of Aqaba is immense. At its deepest points, it descends nearly 5,000 feet, more than 3 times the height of the Empire State Building. Such depth offers a sense of scale to the biblical account, which describes walls of water flanking the Israelites as they crossed. If the narrative is accurate, they would have walked between towering walls of water that rose thousands of feet above them, an event both overwhelming and awe-inspiring. The geographical setting strengthens this theory further. The Gulf connects directly to the Red Sea and lies opposite the mountain traditionally associated with Sinai, where the Israelites camped after crossing. This alignment matches the route described in Exodus with remarkable precision. Nearby, researchers identified a striking gorge formation that corresponds with the biblical Pi-Hahiroth, meaning opening of the mouth in Hebrew. This natural corridor, enclosed by steep granite walls, perfectly matches the description of the Israelites being trapped, Pharaoh's army advancing from behind, and the sea blocking their path ahead. According to the account, this is also where a pillar of cloud shielded the Israelites as they prepared to cross. The gorge leads directly to Wadi Water, a broad valley that could have served as the staging ground for millions of people escaping Egypt. Today, modern roads and shipping routes crisscross this region, and massive cargo vessels traverse the Gulf daily. To casual travelers, the area appears unremarkable, yet beneath its waters may rest evidence of one of the most dramatic events in human history. What makes this site extraordinary for researchers is its preservation. The extreme depth of the Gulf of Aqaba limits oxygen, sunlight, and water movement, creating conditions that protect artifacts for millennia. This natural preservation means that if remains of the Exodus event exist, they could still lie intact on the seafloor. Even more compelling, the Gulf's underwater topography reveals unexpected features that reshape how the crossing could have occurred, details that would not have been visible from the surface and are only now coming to light through modern exploration. These findings set the stage for one of the most intriguing archaeological investigations of our time. What scientists discovered when they began exploring the depths of the Gulf of Aqaba is mind-blowing. The first breakthrough came from an area called Wadi Wadi Water, a location that floods during rainy seasons but reveals fascinating secrets when dry. In this dry riverbed, researchers found something that stopped them in their tracks. Rocks were scattered everywhere, but these weren't randomly distributed stones. The rocks appeared to have been intentionally pushed out of the way, creating a distinct pathway through the area. The formation strongly suggests that some powerful force had cleared a route through this terrain. But the discovery that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community was an ancient pillar found by researcher Ron Wyatt. At first glance, this fallen pillar in the water didn't seem particularly significant. However, when Wyatt extracted it and carefully cleaned away years of erosion, he uncovered something extraordinary. Despite significant damage from prolonged exposure to water, the pillar still contained readable ancient Hebrew inscriptions. And here's what made this discovery incredible. The inscriptions identified this as a commemorative pillar erected by King Solomon himself. Yes, we're talking about the legendary wise King Solomon from biblical history. According to the inscriptions, this pillar was specifically erected to mark the location of the Red Sea crossing and to commemorate this monumental event in Israel's history. While this doesn't constitute absolute proof that the crossing occurred, it provides compelling evidence that ancient peoples considered this location significant enough to mark with a royal monument. But wait, because the evidence gets even more intriguing. Scientists exploring the depths of the Gulf of Aqaba discovered a unique species of fish that exists nowhere else in the world. Local inhabitants call this fish the soul of Moses, and it has a remarkable characteristic that has sparked local legends for generations. Unlike typical fish that have eyes positioned on opposite sides of their heads, this species has both eyes located on the same side. According to local folklore, when the Red Sea parted at Moses' command, this fish was split in two, which explains its unusual eye placement. The fact that this distinctive species is found only in this specific location adds another layer of intrigue to the mystery. However, the most compelling evidence was still waiting to be discovered in the deepest parts of the ocean floor. And what archaeologists found down there is about to change everything you thought you knew about this ancient story. When archaeologists began deep-sea exploration of the Gulf of Aqaba, their findings challenged long-held assumptions about the Red Sea crossing. For centuries, many envisioned the Israelites walking on a smooth, level path between towering walls of water. Yet modern surveys reveal a far more rugged reality beneath the waves. Using advanced sonar and submersibles, scientists mapped the ocean floor and discovered a strikingly uneven landscape marked by steep canyons, jagged ridges, and sudden plateaus. Depths in some sections plunge beyond 1,800 feet, while nearby rises form submerged hills. Rather than a flat corridor, the seabed resembles mountainous terrain, presenting immense obstacles for anyone attempting a crossing. This irregular topography turned out to be a key advantage for researchers. Over thousands of years, the natural contours created collection points where debris could settle and remain preserved. These locations became focal points for excavation and led to some of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries connected to the biblical narrative. According to the Exodus account, Pharaoh's army pursued the Israelites into the parted waters. As they advanced, their chariots malfunctioned, wheels broke loose, vehicles jammed in the seabed, and the troops were overtaken as the sea closed in. The artifacts recovered from the Gulf of Aqaba closely reflect this description. Archaeologists have found individual chariot wheels dating to roughly 3,500 years ago, aligning with the estimated period of the Exodus. Rather than intact chariots, scattered wheel fragments dominate the finds, precisely what one would expect from vehicles torn apart in chaos. Even more striking are the remains of chariot bodies dispersed across the seabed, forming patterns that suggest a sudden violent event rather than gradual deposition. Alongside these artifacts, fossilized horse bones have been discovered in significant concentrations. Horses rarely end up in deep waters in large groups, making this find especially compelling. The presence of equine remains, combined with Egyptian-style chariot parts, provides a strong correlation with the biblical account of Pharaoh's cavalry. Researchers believe they have only uncovered a small portion of what lies beneath the Gulf. Hundreds of additional artifacts may remain scattered across the ocean floor, awaiting future study. Each discovery adds a new piece to a centuries-old mystery and deepens the conversation about one of history's most enduring events, a crossing that, if confirmed, would bridge the worlds of archaeology, history, and faith in an unprecedented way. The convergence of geographical, archaeological, and biological evidence creates a compelling case that has surprised even skeptical researchers. The Gulf of Aqaba's location perfectly matches the biblical descriptions, sitting strategically between the landmarks mentioned in ancient texts. The geographical positioning makes complete sense when you examine the broader context of the Exodus narrative. The Gulf flows directly into the larger Red Sea, and on the opposite shore lies Mount Sinai, where the biblical account places the Israelites' next major encampment. This geographical relationship provides a logical progression for the journey described in ancient texts. The gorge visible in the distance corresponds to Pi-Hahiroth, the opening of the mouth mentioned in Exodus. This narrow passage, bounded by granite walls, would have created the perfect trap described in the biblical account. The Israelites would have found themselves in a natural cul-de-sac, with Pharaoh's army approaching from behind and the vast Gulf of Aqaba blocking their escape route ahead. This geographical setup explains why the crossing location became so strategically critical. There would have been no alternative escape routes, no way to outflank the pursuing army, and no possibility of retreat. The crossing of the water wasn't just convenient, it was necessary for survival. The archaeological evidence discovered in these precise geographical locations adds another layer of credibility to the account. The fact that ancient military artifacts, horse remains, and chariot parts are concentrated in the exact area described by ancient texts is remarkable. The probability of this being a mere coincidence becomes increasingly unlikely as more evidence accumulates. King Solomon's commemorative pillar provides historical context that bridges the gap between the original event and later recognition of its significance. The fact that Israel's wisest king felt compelled to mark this location with a permanent monument suggests that the crossing was considered historically factual by subsequent generations who would have had access to more complete historical records. The unique fish species found only in this location adds a biological dimension to the evidence. While local folklore about the soul of Moses might seem like simple mythology, the fact remains that this distinctive species exists nowhere else on Earth. The concentration of unique biological, archaeological, and geographical evidence in one specific location creates a pattern that demands serious scientific consideration. What makes these discoveries particularly compelling is how modern technology has enabled researchers to explore areas that were previously inaccessible. Advanced sonar mapping, underwater robotics, and deep-sea diving equipment have opened up entirely new possibilities for archaeological investigation. The Gulf of Aqaba's extreme depths, which once made exploration impossible, can now be systematically surveyed and documented. Researchers can create detailed three-dimensional maps of the seafloor, identifying artifact locations with GPS precision and documenting their findings with high-resolution photography. This technological capability has revealed the true scale of the potential evidence field. The artifacts aren't scattered randomly across the ocean floor but appear to follow specific patterns that align with the biblical narrative. The concentration of military equipment in the deeper sections of the Gulf suggests a rapid submersion event, consistent with the account of waters returning suddenly to trap Pharaoh's forces. Carbon dating and materials analysis have provided additional verification of the artifact's age and origin. The chariot wheels and horse bones consistently date to the appropriate historical period, and the construction techniques match known Egyptian military practices from that era. But perhaps most importantly, modern archaeological methods have allowed researchers to approach this investigation with scientific rigor rather than religious bias. The evidence is being evaluated using the same standards applied to any archaeological discovery, with peer review and independent verification of findings. What are your thoughts on this fascinating evidence uncovered by researchers? Could these discoveries truly support the account of the Red Sea crossing, Or might they simply reflect remarkable coincidences? Share your perspective in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. And if you have any questions or insights about what we've covered in this video, feel free to join the discussion there as well. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel to discover more interesting things. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.